Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Alfred Mooley. I'm the Corporate Director of Spiritual Life, and I want to take this time to welcome you to our devotional this morning. In this life, we go through trials of many kinds, afflictions, and real serious dark nights. For some of you, that dark night may be the dark night of emotional distress, the dark night of just grief and sorrow because of the loss of a loved one. Some of you, it may be because of just the pain that you're experiencing because of brokenness, broken relationships with families, and all kinds of situations that we face in life. And the question is, when you go through these kinds of, when you experience these kinds of trials and temptations in your life, how do you respond? How do you respond to those trials? And for many of us, of course, our response is discouragement, is frustration, is anger, is complaining. It is interesting to look at the scriptures and see what the Apostle James gives as a response to believers when they go through trials and temptations. He says in James chapter 1 and verse 2, he says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers," and of course this includes his sisters. He says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds." Consider it pure joy. I know in your mind, in my mind, when I'm going through trial and difficulties in life, and somebody comes here to counsel you, to help you, and tells you to consider it pure joy, in my mind, in your mind, I believe you're wondering, do you really understand what you're talking about, James? Do you really understand what I'm going through, the frustration, the discouragement, the anger that is in my heart right now because of what I'm going through? And if you're thinking about that, you are not alone, because even the original audience that James is writing to, they were going through horrible, horrible experiences of suffering and trials that they were going through. They were being persecuted because of their faith. They were being hated on. They were being beaten. They were being mistreated just because of their faith. And now these are the words that James tells them. Of course, now, if we read further, in verses 3, 4, and 5, probably we will begin to have a better sense of what James is talking about here. And so let us read further. We'll begin with verse 2 again, and then read further into verse 3, 4, and 5. He says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds." How come? He says, "Because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." And it continues in verse 5 to say, "If any one of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given." Aha! Now we have a better understanding of what James is talking about. James is not telling us that we should rejoice in temptations in themselves, or in trials in themselves, or in suffering in itself. No, that's not what James is telling us. What James is telling us is that we should rejoice when we go through trials, because God uses trials actually to benefit us believers. He uses trials to build our faith, and that is the point of James here. God uses trials to build our faith into making us to be mature in our faith. In other words, God is using trials and temptations and our sufferings to mold us, to change us, to shape us into the image and the likeness of his beloved Son, Jesus Christ. And that's the end goal of God. It's not the goal of God is not just for us to suffer, but it's what he achieves out of that. And that is to shape us, to shape our faith, to grow our faith, to mature us so that we can become and be transformed into the character and the image of his beloved Son, Jesus Christ. And so I do hope that this new perspective of trials and suffering and temptations can be encouraging to you, and especially those of you right now who may be facing some significant trial in your life. I just hope that this message brings you some kind of encouragement, some comfort, some sense of hope in your life. And may the Lord bless you. Amen.